So today, how to become an actor. I see different posts online, people who like, oh, I would like to start acting and I don't know how. How do you start acting? And they'll ask questions online, videos, forums, such like that. It's not hard. Anybody can do it, even if you have zero resources and you're out in the middle of bumfuck Egypt. You're going to have, to a point, a few less resources in maybe, I don't know off the top of my head, Des Moines, Iowa, than I am here in the metropolitan greater Phoenix area. Okay? We're not too far off of California. I know that throughout my martial arts studios and career, I have had several actors who live in Arizona, and talking to them, they live here just because, and then they travel to LA when they need to go shoot something, and they still get a lot of work actually here too. So there's work here. My son is an actor in Austin, Texas, and that is a little oversaturated though. It's a very artistic community, so it's very oversaturated. It's a good thing he's actually good, and it's a good thing he's good looking, but I'm not surprised, because it separates him apart. So anyways, how to become an actor when you have very little or no resources. Number one, watch movies. Okay, the first thing is you're going to watch movies. Now you can start turning it into almost like a study habits technique type thing, where you watch the movie once. You can pick a movie and watch the movie once, and you watch it just for pure enjoyment, no expectations, and then you're going to watch the second time, not necessarily immediately following. So let's say I watch a movie today. Off the top of my head, and I'll tell you why, I'm going to watch Goodfellas. One, because it is a fucking awesome movie. Number two, because where I kind of got this idea was from the master, Martin Scorsese himself. I had, a couple of years ago, when my son had started college, and this was before I decided to take some acting classes myself, and he's like, I'm gonna go to college, and this is like his freshman year. I bought a year subscription to that master class, and I decided to watch it because I was fascinated with it and I was curious. So I ended up watching that, and one of the pieces of advice to be a filmmaker from Scorsese was to watch movies. And his advice was watch a movie, and watch it with no expectations, watch it for pure enjoyment, and just watch it. And he says, and then maybe come back the next day and watch it again. This time, start detailing it. Start noticing. Now, as you an actor, you're going to notice the performances. You're going to watch, and again, I say Goodfellas. So you're going to start separating the characters of Joe Pesci and of Ray Liotta and of Robert De Niro. And then all the extras as well. And so you're going to start noticing you're going to start trying to notice their nuances. How are they playing the character? How are they portraying the character? If you're watching it on screen, you're trying to figure out their process of how they developed that particular character. Okay. So you're watching it for that. And again, obviously you're watching the background characters as well. You're watching the interactions, watch their body language, not just listen to the dialogue, but watch the body language and then the response between the two actors. Okay, so that's one of the ways that you can actually get started. To add to that, you can go to ScriptSlug. ScriptSlug.com. See if I can type it in. Goodfellas. There we go. So ScriptSlug is a resource where you can download scripts and read them. Now, some of this... What the fuck is calling me? I don't have time. I'm talking to you guys. So, anyways... ScriptSlug, you can download the scripts. It's in a PDF format, so you can download those and look through those. A lot of times, though, you're not necessarily getting the shooting script. And if you're like, what the fuck is a shooting script? It's like, well, you have the original script and then you have like a working script. A working script is something that like the actors. So let's just, again, so it's the script that basically Pesci, De Niro, and Liotta are going to get in their hand so they can practice their lines and they can work on their characters. So like, for example, one of them that I downloaded, like one of my favorite movies is Rambo First Blood. And the script on ScriptSlug is one of the original copies. So there's a lot of handwritten notes on it. So it doesn't necessarily follow the movie exactly. There was a scene from it, and there's going to be scenes like you're reading it, and it's like, where the fuck is this dialogue? And it's like, well, that was either cut out, left on the editing floor, or they decided to change it. What was one I was reading recently? Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale. Reign of Fire. I was reading that script and watching the movie, and the scene where Matthew McConaughey's character, Van Zant, pulls up to their castle, I guess, and has a conversation with Christian Bale's character. I don't remember the name. And the whole thing where he hands him is like, you ever see Dragon's Tooth? It's like, not many men have. That whole speech that McConaughey did is not in the script. That was something that was developed afterwards. So that was part of more of the working script, or it was just written in. But anyways, you can read the scripts and you can follow along the movie. And again, they're not going to be exact, so don't let that freak you out. And you can start studying that way as well. Going on top of that, act out the scenes. So let's say Goodfellas. One of the most memorable scenes in Goodfellas is the "Am I a Clown" scene. I'll be honest, it's my favorite. It's probably my favorite Joe Pesci fucking scene, where they're all laughing and Ray Liotta's character is like, you're funny, and it's like, what do you mean I'm funny? I'm like, funny how? Funny like a fucking clown? It's like, I amuse you, I make you laugh, and I'm butchering it. Joe Pesci's fucking Joe Pesci, man. So anyways, but you can act out that scene. Now, when you're acting out that scene, I would not be, let's say I want to play, I'm going to play both characters actually. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to practice playing Pesci's character. And as I'm playing Pesci's character, I need to try to not play it like Pesci. I need to not copy him. Joe Pesci is what? I mean, he's like 80 years old now, I think. So he's 80 years old. He's a different generation. Grew up in a different, grew up back east. I'm growing up obviously in Arizona. He's like, what, 5'6", and, Italian backgrounds, New York background, that type of stuff. And I'm not looking it up right now. So, but anyways, I am not Joe Pesci, is what I'm saying. I am taller. I am bigger. I am more Irish. And so I need to play that character as how I would play that character. So I need to take who I am as a person and then just start plugging it into that character. Now you could say, you got the method actors and they become the characters. You can do that, yeah, but that's like advanced level shit. Let's just get started here. So just getting started, I'm going to take who I am and I need to put in there, because it may not look like that in camera. But one thing, and I'm by the way, I'm not bragging. It's just what I hear over the years. When people initially meet me, especially when I was at the studio or something like that, people have told me, it's like, I have actually had people tell me that they did not sign up with my studio because they felt that they were intimidated by me. I was like, yeah, I walked in and you were a super nice guy and you were really polite and respectful, but that you were just intimidating. So I know that I have the ability to, and I'm not doing it on camera now just because I'm comfortable in my house, but I know I have the ability to just meet someone and intimidate the shit out of them. It's something that I have worked on through the martial arts, and the reason I have done that is to keep people at fucking bay from me, because I'm trying to keep myself safe. I'm trying to keep my family safe. I don't don't want strangers walking up to me having fucking conversations. So I have like a bubble around me. Anyways, knowing who I am, I'm going to try to portray that character and on how I would portray that character. And there may be a little bit like, well, the character is this. And so to a point, there is going to be similarities between the way Pesci portrayed it and maybe the way I might think I'm going to portray it. But the point is you're going to try to act out that scene if he was recast. Joe Pesci gets sick. Scorsese calls me and says, you're now playing this character. Now I got to go play that character. Okay. It was what happened with Back to the Future. They had the one guy, I forget his name, the redheaded guy, he played Mask with opposite of Cher, and he was cast, and he played it in a more dramatic fashion, and he was a little bit more of a Methodist study, and then they brought in Michael J. Fox, and he played it totally different, and it gave a different feel for it. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Okay. All right, next. Take classes. No, I don't have new classes. If you're in high school, if you still have high school left and you want to be an actor, you need to take theater. You need to get started and you need to take theater. Okay? Get in with other kids and get in with your acting teacher. Volunteer for a show, audition for a show. That's going to be a huge one. Is do you have the courage to stand in front of someone, be completely exposed on stage, and give them this performance, and then wait for a critique? That is scary to a lot of people. So audition for a show if you're still in high school. Audition for a show. If you don't make the show, be a part of the crew. Be a part of the crew for set design, for lighting, for costume design, for whatever that they got to help out. So this way you're still a part of the project. You may not be on stage, and that is okay. Which it happens quite often, especially in theater. Be an understudy. Still study the script. Still learn the lines. So this way you know what's going on. And learn everyone's lines. You're memorizing the whole play. Learn everyone's lines. And when they're out performing, you're kind of mouthing them. Don't actually say anything because you'll ruin it and your teacher will get pissed. The director will get pissed. But you're mouthing them and you can say the lines. So this way, if something happens, like, oh, Susie was also, I don't know, on the lacrosse team and she got injured and, now she can't do this play for whatever reason. And they're like, oh, we got to recast. Well, you can go make your case to the director and you'll be like, I know Susie's part. Can I audition for it again? And then they hold another audition and then you get the part. You never know. But you're still a part of the crew. You're still a part of the group. You're still making friends and you want to start that network. One of the things, the disadvantages that I'm going to have, an advantage that I have is I know how to network. A disadvantage that I currently have is I am too fucking old. And I'm not, but if I would have started this, because I went to college late, if I would have started this when I went to college, say back when I was 24, I started going to college at 24. If I would have started this journey back then, I was running my first martial arts studio at 24. I had a whole bunch of assistant instructors who were a little bit younger than me. They were all in college as well, coincidentally. And they were all 20 to 22-ish. So I had, I think, 5 assistant instructors there, and then I had a whole bunch of students, and a lot of my students were in their 20s because that's what we kind of attracted at the time. And I probably honestly could have started my filmmaking process back then. It was like, hey, we do our martial arts stuff, and then we decided, hey, let's make a karate movie, let's make a kung fu movie just for, shits and giggles, and it takes off from there and it becomes something. I had more resources as far as people back then, as far as locations as well. Someone had a dad or a mom that had a business or owned a property or owned a thing that we could have used as a set piece or as a location. So I had more resources 20, 25 years ago than I have now. Now I have my own house. Well, the problem is now the friends that I have, they all have their own houses and they have their jobs. A couple people own their own businesses. So, but it's nothing to where unless I write something specific to that location, I don't need it. So it's going to be more difficult for me at this stage than it is back then when you're young and ambitious. Okay. Plus, that's honestly a bonus that you guys have. If you guys are young and ambitious, people will give you a chance. They really will. You just have to ask. You really just have to ask. If you present that you have a passion for something and that you want an opportunity and a chance, just ask. Who cares if someone says no? You move on to the next person. But more than likely, they'll actually help you. Like, yeah, sure. It's like, hey, I want to shoot this short film. I know that, can we talk to your dad? I know he owns this kind of warehouse-ish type thing. Maybe he can let us use it in off time or whatever. And you go talk to dad, and he's like, yeah, sure. It's like, you can use this little place, and you have to use it after hours, and you have to make sure you clean up, and you have to make sure you don't damage stuff, and blah, 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 blah. If you do that and you earn his trust, that's great. You can get your little short movie made. So anyways, take acting classes. If you not in high school, you're going to go to community college. I still go to community. I went to community college at age 45 years old and took my first acting class. It's never too late. And I think I mentioned in another video, there were several other people that were either my age, and there was a couple of people that were slightly older than me. I want to say there might have been 5 of us over the age of 40 taking this class. I'm the only one who finished the semester and moved on to the other semesters. I think the other ones got intimidated is what it was. They felt weird maybe or uncomfortable acting, with a bunch of kids. I had no problem with it because I'm a dad of 4 kids and I had a martial arts studio for nearly 20 years. So I'm comfortable working with 18 to 22-year-olds. I have no problem with that. I have no problem being the dad. I have no problem being the coach. I understand I am going to fit a certain typecast and I'm okay with that. So take classes at a community college if you have one in your area. You don't have to go to university. Community college is going to be cheaper. And dollar for dollar, it's going to be a better value of your dollar going to a community college class than, say, taking private classes. And I say that because the private classes can get a little bit expensive and they don't necessarily have the same resources. Where a college, like when I go to our college, I'm in Arizona, so Glendale Community College, they have a lot of resources, very popular school, so they have a lot of resources. Their theater production, our black box room, as the campus itself, all the students, we have a lot more resources than, say, a private class that has to pay to use a facility or something like that. Because most private teachers don't have their own stages and all that other type of thing. They might be doing it on the side, like they own their own, theater company or something like that, and they're doing it on the side. But most times they still don't own the building and they don't have the same resources and budgeted in. So it is going to be different. I personally, because I've done both, I think the college is going to be a better value for your dollar in the beginning. Later on, then you start going to get those, acting coaches like, oh, well, Tom Hardy trains with this guy and Cillian Murphy trains with this guy. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go train with that fucking guy. But you need that money to train with that guy first. So acting classes. If you don't, you're like, oh, I can't afford to go to college. Yes, you can. If you're, say, like when I started going to college at 24. Well, I'm independent at that point. I'm outside of my parents, but I didn't make a whole ton of money, even running a martial arts studio. I made a good living, but it was enough for a single guy, but it wasn't enough to, do a whole bunch of other stuff. I qualified for the Pell Grant. So I qualified for FAFSA, and I'll put a link to FAFSA. It is studentaid.gov. If you are on a .com, .org, or anything other than a .gov, you are on the wrong website. And I say that because there are scam websites trying to collect your information, promising you Pell Grant money, and they're not it. It is studentaid.gov. It is the link I have in the description. And you're going to fill that out. If you're still in school, like you're still college age-ish, I say that I say ish a lot. I don't know why. But if you're still college age, 18 to say 22, something like that, you can still qualify for a Pell Grant under your parents' income. So if your parents are like, well, parents doing okay, but they don't have enough to send me to college. I get that. I was there too. So you can actually fill that out and you will get qualified. Now, the trick is you don't have to go to school full time. To qualify to use the Pell Grant, you need to take 6 credits minimum. 6 credits is all you need. So you can sign up for your acting class, and then you can sign up for something else. Now, when you do so, the advisor, if you talk to an advisor, they're going to try to get you into a program. Just go with it. It's okay. Just tell them you want to be a theater major. Now, when being a theater major, they're going to try to push you towards classes that are geared towards theater. They're probably going to try to push you into a math class or an English class or a science class. Just be like, okay, well, I'm just let them know. I'm taste testing college right now. I don't know if it's for me. I kind of just want to start off with a couple of electives to get my feet wet, but I do want to be a theater major. Okay, something to those lines. So this way you can take your acting one. Now, if you want to take math or English, go right ahead. But then you can take photography. I don't know if photography, I might qualify for an elective under theater. I don't know because it's an art class. But anyways, take photography because I mentioned photography about making money. Videography. Theater, intro to cinema, videography, photography, acting, screenwriting, stuff like that. Just, something that goes along with it. Singing, dancing, I don't know, whatever. Something that goes along with it. I mean, we had a movement teacher. It was loosely based. It was based off a lot of different stuff like dancing and whatever. It's just like a movement class. Like you're just like, whatever. I don't know. I have so much martial art background. I didn't need anything like this. She tried to get, she's such a sweet lady. She said, you should do our movement class. I'm like, I don't need it. Thank you. I move just fine. Even my old fat self, I move very, very well. So going to college, qualify for that. You get the Pell Grant. You can still go. You need a minimum of 6 credits. You do not have to go full time and stress yourself out. And if you have a part-time job or full-time job, this way you can still kind of squeeze it in. And you take your acting class, you can do that in person, and if you take another one, say for example screenwriting, because I did screenwriting, a lot of times like the screenwriting class, like especially the screenwriting one, you can typically do that online through a portal. So now you can just do that whenever. So it might fit in your schedule a little easier. So you can take something online if your schedule is a little bit tight. Okay, take an online class for that second one. So. And then get started and then work your way through it until just go semester by semester until you figure it out. So taking classes. Joining Facebook groups. Okay. Facebook is not dead completely. The groups, like their marketplace is still very good to buy shit. But their groups are where all their value is at in Facebook. As far as connecting with people necessarily, not so much, but the groups. So go into Facebook, you're going to go into groups. And if you don't have a Facebook, start up a Facebook group account, and you're going to go into groups and you're going to search your area. So I'm going to search Arizona. I'm not going to search Phoenix necessarily because if I search Arizona, Phoenix will populate for that because Facebook's algorithm can read that. So, or the search function can read that. So your area, so I would type in Arizona casting or Arizona casting calls, Arizona filmmakers, Arizona actors, Arizona movie extras, Arizona auditions. Okay, so something with those keywords, and then you're going to join these. You don't have to join all of them, but you search for all those keywords that I did list for you, and if you can come up with another creative one, that's fine. But you're going to search for those keywords, and then you're going to join the groups. Now, there's a couple of caveats here. You may see, say, Arizona actors. So Arizona actors has one group that's, say, hypothetical, 20,000 group members. Another one that has 400 group members. In the beginning, for yourself, you might sign up for both of them. And then what you're going to do, and maybe there's like 3 or 4 of them. This one has 1,500, and this one has 400, and this one has 2,000. Sign up for all those in the beginning. Join all those in the beginning. And you're going to give it about a month. And you're going to be looking through these groups to see what you see if any casting opportunities come up, short films, student films, background work, anything to get you on a set so you can start getting in there and talking to people and meeting people. And the fun parts is just being on set. For me personally, just being on set is a lot of fun. Even though you're just like, I'm just a background extra or something like that. So, after about a month, you'll start to notice the groups that don't have any activity. Get rid of those. And then the groups where it's redundant. So again, you have this one group that has 20,000, and you'll notice the 2,000 and the 1,500, they're posting the exact same thing over here because the director is looking for actors for their short film or their student film, and they post it on all of them. You can get rid of the redundant ones and just keep this one. If you're in a smaller area, me being in the greater Phoenix metropolitan area, there's a lot of opportunity here, and we're very close to LA, so it's easy for LA to pull from Phoenix because it's literally a 6 to 8 hour drive depending. So if you're in, use Des Moines, Iowa. You're in Des Moines, Iowa. Maybe there's not that much acting opportunity there, or even a smaller town. I mean, that's still a major city in Iowa, but you're in a small town that I don't even know what the fuck it's called, and you're like, there's no acting opportunity here. And let's just say there is an acting Facebook group, and there's like three Facebook groups. One of them only has like 2,500, and that's for the entire fucking state of Iowa. And then there's two others, and it's like this one has 100, and then this one has like, 200 or something like that. You can probably just not sign up for those other two, period, and just join the one. Now, there's not going to be a lot of opportunity. There's not going to be a lot of engagement. There's not going to be a lot of posting and activity going on. It's just unfortunate. It's just the way it is. It's something that you're going to have to deal with until you can get out of Des Moines, Iowa. And do you have to go to LA? Not necessarily. Or New York? Not necessarily. But you will find it could be difficult to find work where you're at. I've heard managers and agents talk about small town actors who have stayed in their small town and haven't left, and they don't do as well. But once in a while, a big project will come in, and then the competition is obviously really heavy because it's one project every 7 years, and it's a big film, and everybody wants to be in it. So the competition can be heavy. So just keep that in mind. But Facebook groups are where you can start networking people, and then it's a way. It's like maybe I talked about earlier, acting out scenes. So you're gonna act out a scene. Maybe you don't have any friends. Like, I don't have any acting friends, so I can go on to Arizona Actors or Casting Call and say, hey, it's like, I'm an actor, I want to practice, I have some short stories, which I do, I have some short stories that I wrote, and I need this and this to act things out. Or does anybody want to get together and actually practice running through scenes or something like that? I've connected with a couple people. Unfortunately, most of them are like one guy was way out in Casa Grande, and we're from Mamet. That's 50 miles away. I'm not driving that far. And some of you are like, I live in so-and-so. 50 miles is hop, skip, and a jump away. It's like, not here. Honestly, anything outside of, say, 5 miles away with this suburbanized and how what's the word? I'm losing my train of thought. But basically, it's like we have so many little communities that are all like bunched together to make one giant community that you really don't have to travel far in the greater Phoenix area, in basically what we call the Valley, the Maricopa County in the Valley. I don't need to go all the way to ASU in Tempe, 35 miles away. There's no need for that whatsoever. I can stay right here where I'm at. So you can do something like that and start trying to network people that way. Write your own stories, write your own scenes. So not just acting out scenes from movies, but now you're going to try to write your own. As an example, and you're like, okay, well, it's acting out a scene or creating your own scene. It can be something 60, 90 seconds. You don't really need to go longer than 2 minutes. You're not trying to create your own movie here. You're just acting out a scene. So say, for example, 1955. It's 1955. I have a husband and I have a wife. They have 2 kids, ages 5 and 3, but they're not in the scene. Husband comes home, into the house, into the kitchen. Again, 1955. He works at the auto plant. He stamps out steel fenders. And the wife is a stay-at-home wife. Again, traditional 1955. And she's an awesome wife, by the way. She has dinner on the table every single time. They've been married 10 years. On the table every single day for 6:30. At 6:30 every single day, unless the husband calls or makes... Camera card cut out. Bastard. Unless he calls unless he calls and says, hey, don't make dinner tonight, I'm taking you out. Or they plan, it's like, oh, it's Saturday night, she doesn't make dinner, I take her out every Saturday night, and we go to a show and we go to dinner, and we got a babysitter or something like that. Little Janie fucking Sue down the street watches our kids for us for, I don't know, $5. So he comes home, long, hot day, and extra hot that day for some reason. And he's just, for some reason, he's in a grumpy mood. And he walks through the door. It's 6:45. He did call her earlier and say, hey, I'm going to be a little bit late tonight. Dinner was not on the table at 6:45. And for some reason, he was not empathetic towards her. And he's like, hey, why is dinner not on the table? And she tries to apologize. She's apologetic at first. And she tries to say how, I was like, oh, well, this happened and this happened. I'm so sorry. I'm working on it. I'll be done in 5 minutes. Why don't you go ahead and wash up and sit down? I'll be ready in like 5 or 10 minutes. And instead of him just like, oh, okay, no big deal, he just decides to get on her case about it. And so she becomes defensive, and it turns into an argument for 90 seconds. So anyways, the scene starts when he walks into the door. And then the scene ends, and you can end it whatever you want, however you want to end it. He realizes he's an asshole and is like, oh, I'm so sorry and I love you and whatever. I don't know. Or he just walks away and he gets a fucking drink or some shit like that. So you can write it however you want. But the thing of it is, it's a 90-second scene. You have these two characters that starts here and ends here specifically. So outside of what is written on that page and a half, you have no idea who the fuck these people are. So how writing a script or writing your little short stories or writing your little scenes is going to help you is because now as an actor, you have to. So I'm playing the husband, and I have let's just say my wife is helping me, and she's playing the wife, and we can play those roles. So I have to figure out who the fuck this guy is from. We'll just say I'm going to take it back to the moment he woke up that morning. I got to figure out who this guy is from the moment he woke up that morning to the moment he walked through that kitchen door. And I need to do the same, then my opposite needs to do the same for her, which is from the moment she woke up, who she is, and what butterfly effect of events led her to her not having dinner on the table. And what events led him to walking home grumpy and unloving that particular day. Because he's not a bad guy. Okay, and so let's not do that whole stereotypical like, well, he probably beats his wife and he's drunk. Like, let's stop that shit. Okay, it wasn't fucking real back in 1955. It's the internet made that shit up, and I know that because I've talked to my dad who existed back then, and I've talked to my grandparents who existed back then, and it wasn't always the way. That's Hollywood's got you all fucking twisted. Anyways. So he's a loving husband. Outside of that, he's an awesome provider, and just for whatever reason, he's just grumpy and he decides to, kick the dog syndrome or something. So anyways, you have to figure out who those characters are from, again, woken up to scene begins. So that's going to help you as an actor because now you're thinking about it as you're writing these two characters. You don't have to get into a whole bunch of lighting and filmmaking and directing or anything. You don't even have to record this stupid thing. I'd recommend you do for practice so you can watch yourself. But you just get with another actor and you act out the scene is what you do. And, because you wrote it and you got all this backstory, you're figuring things out. That's what you have to do as an actor anyways, a good actor anyways. So write your own stories. If you're thinking, well, I don't know how to come up with my own scenes and my own stories. I mean, you got to find your inspiration. You can find your inspiration from somewhere else. Like that scene that I just came off the top of my head, I slightly pulled it, inspired it by Something Road. Not The Road to Perdition. That's Tom Hanks. Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. You've seen it when he's like, why are you in my house? And, it's like, did you ever even love me? And shit like that. And then whatever. So I slightly pulled it from there, but I don't want to make the character a total douchebag. And Leo's character became a total douchebag. So I pulled it from there and then I just twisted it. So you can do something the same thing. You know, take a scene that you really like in a movie and then just rewrite it. Another thing that I've done with short stories, I pull my shit from music a lot. So off the top of my head, and I pulled it up in front of me before I decided to make this, was there's a song by a band from the early 2000s named Hurt, and they did a song called Rapture, and it is about a woman who, and this is kind of, you're like, that is so morbid and disgusting. I don't know why I thought of it. It was just, I liked the song, and it was, I never really realized how many times it's not till 20 years later, you're like, oh, those fucking lyrics are dark, bro. And it is about a woman who snuffs out her own child. Yeah. It's, if you go deeper into it and you're like, what the fuck? If you go deeper into it, you have a story about a woman who struggles with postpartum depression. Now we have the humanistic quality besides just being, you know, some disgusting, you know, murderous, filmmaker, you know, with all these evil ideas or something. It's like, no, now we have, a humanistic quality, a struggle that a woman has, and it is quite common, okay? If you don't have kids and you're not a woman or you're not a husband who has had a wife go through postpartum depression, or if you've never seen her or something like that, you're not necessarily going to know what I'm talking about. I have seen it. Not to that level, obviously. You look up news articles. I remember my first son was born, and it's I learned so much about like the development of a child through the different stages, and it was just fascinating science. And one of the things my wife had come up with, and she's like, hey, did you hear this story? I was like, what? It was like a woman who she did a bad thing with her 3 kids, and it was because of postpartum depression. I was like, what the fuck? And I'm thinking in my uneducated mind back then, I was like, what a psycho and what a piece of shit and yada, yada, yada. Well, she was going to school for molecular biosciences, and she was a very intelligent person. And so she started explaining kind of the psychology and how the chemical reaction after a woman gives birth and how it affects her psychology. And she went to this whole description. I'm like, holy fuck, that's a real thing. I didn't know this. She's like, oh yeah. And this was in the early 2000s. We're talking like 2002, 2003. We're having this conversation. So this is like way before like you would have found anything on the internet. No YouTube or, come on, focus. So anything like that. But anyways, so that's a story. And that particular story is simply the way I wrote it. It is only, I think, like a 3-minute, and I wrote it a long time ago. It's only like a 3-minute story. That's it. I did like all 3 acts in 3 minutes. Like each minute has an act. So, you know, you just pull stuff. I pulled stuff. The point is I pulled it from a song that happened to catch my interest. Study acting techniques is the next one. Studying acting techniques. I'm going to put a list of acting techniques in the description, and then it is going to be up to you to go search this shit out, because I am not going to sit here and describe it for the next 20 fucking minutes. So you have the Meisner technique. I'm going to butcher this. Stanislavsky System. Stanislavsky System. Okay, then you have, so Stanislavsky System, Strasberg Method, Uta Hagen Technique, Practical Aesthetics. That's developed by David Mamet, who is a screenwriter, and William H. Macy from Fargo. And then you have the Chekhov Technique and then the Chubbuck Technique. I will put a list on the bottom, and you can just start typing them in, copy and paste them into YouTube and start watching other creators talk about those. But those are a bunch of techniques that you can go down such DRAD. That can keep you busy for a long time. It really can. Now, from what I have, and if I recall, one of my acting coach, he actually studied with one of these people. I forget who. Like he was one of the last group of students. It was Strasberg, Stanislavsky. Who the fuck did he study with? Anyways, he's an incredible coach. I love him as a teacher. And yeah, he studied with one of these people. I want to say Stanislavsky or Strasberg. I don't remember, but he was one of the last group of students, because like he's 60 years old or something like that, and he was one of the last group of students to study with this famous acting coach. So he learned a lot, and he gets into other theories as well. But yeah, you can go down rabbit holes on rabbit holes. And what I would say is, don't get stuck on thinking you have to do one particular way. These are just tools to make you better. And this is all art forms. I don't care if you're learning dancing, if you're learning music, you're playing an instrument, you're singing, martial arts, like myself. All art forms, you start off learning how to play by the rules. So when I started off in karate a long time ago, I had to learn kata. I had to learn specific techniques, and you step here and you block here and you do this punch, and then your person responds, and then you respond, and blah, 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 and it's very scripted. You start doing that, and you do that for a while, and you're very fluid and very comfortable, and you know this technique. Then it gets to a point where you just stop using the technique and you just move. It's the same thing with dancers. You see dancers, you see singers. I remember, Slash from Guns N' Roses, because that's my generation, and listening to him talking about how he never took a lesson or a class. And I was like, well, how did you do it? And he's like, well, I had this like 6-string guitar, but the strings were broken, and I think he only had like 3 strings on it or some shit, and he didn't have any money, so he couldn't buy a new pack of strings. And it's funny because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a second, when I started learning guitar in 2003, 2004, which I quit, I don't know guitar, like a pack of strings was like $5. I can imagine how much it was in 1984. It's like, how did you not have like $2? But, if you grew up very poor and different, it's a different perspective. So he played that, and he learned how to play that, and then he just had to get creative. And he had to figure out how to play the rules, and then he had to learn how to break those rules. And when I started learning, I had a guitar coach, and he said the exact same thing. He says, you're going to start off basically playing, Mary Had a Little Lamb, and you're going to hate it. And you're going to be like, no, but I want to play Metallica. Like everybody fucking does. And then eventually you get to that point where you're playing Mary Had a Little Lamb, and then you're like, I'm good enough. It's like, I'm going to play Mary Had a Little Lamb like fucking Pink Floyd would. How would Pink Floyd, how would David, how would he play this fucking tune? How would Slash play Mary Had a Little Lamb? How would all these great guitarists in our history play Mary Had a Little Lamb? It's like, what would Robert Johnson do? It's like, shit like that. Then you can start breaking the rules and making your own thing. It's the same thing in acting. These techniques are just tools to make you better and to get you thinking outside of the box. And then you're going to take them, and eventually you're going to break them, and you're going to make your own thing. Okay? So that is how you start acting. That's really it, and that's the process that I'm following. I went to school, and I just study, and I have a tendency to obsess over shit. So I will, when I get chances, I watch movies, and I read scripts, and I read and I study these techniques, and I just practice them. And now I'm sitting in front of a camera. This is part of it as well. This is part of kind of the having the courage to be in front of a camera, which is, I don't have like any subscribers right now at the time I'm making this, and nobody's watching these. I think I've put out maybe a week worth of videos already. Nobody's watched a single fucking one of them, and I don't care, because I'm making this to hold myself accountable, and eventually one day, maybe if I can make it as the filmmaker that I want to, I can look back at that and be like, holy shit, that's where I started. That is so fucking awesome. I've heard Gary Vaynerchuk talk about that. Infamously, yeah. I've heard Gary Vayner talk about that. Is like, imagine if Vera Wang, trying to be dramatic and fucking loses focus. Imagine if Vera Wang at age 40 decided to video record the process of her becoming a designer. Take your favorite actor. Yeah, we've watched him on film, but imagine watching them, do something in high school, and maybe, their mom and dad had something filmed, but the whole process of them going through it, You know, that's the whole point. You can take your favorite musician, take your favorite actor. It's like, for me, it was business for a lot of times. That's why I got into Gary Vaynerchuk. And that's why he said he was doing it as well. It's like, you know, I've recorded my process for, I don't know, since he's been on YouTube in 2006. So, you know, we're going on 20 years. This guy's been on YouTube almost 18 years now. He's recorded his process the whole way. And when he started off with just Wine Library TV, working for his dad and his dad's business, and then starting now, then him and his brother breaking away and starting VaynerMedia, and then going on to VaynerX, and so on and so on and so on. And now, you know, he is who he is. So you can do that with yourself as well. That's why I'm doing this, you know. So this way, one day, and I'm mostly doing this for my grandkids that don't exist yet. My great grandkids are like, oh wow, that's how our family fucking started. Holy shit! This one guy, there's, you know, great granddad or great granddad, and look at this fucking video. It's like, look at this bastard, you know, just making videos, talking to no one, and you know, it changed the course of our family. So, I mean, maybe you have those aspirations. I don't know. I do, but I also hope to help out anybody along the way. That is one thing, especially going through the martial arts. How many people want to do something and they just don't have the courage, and you know, they would come and see me on a regular basis and talk to me, and that would help motivate them, but you know, they need something daily, and there's a lot of people like that. You can do it too. I had a Muay Thai coach, and he said it exactly this way, and I've heard other people say it, but it was the first time I heard him say it. He's like, when it comes to teaching, you only need to know 1% more information than the person you're teaching. So if I've already gone through a year and a half, 2 years of structured acting classes, well, I know that I know more about acting, than a lot of people out there who are like, I'm day one. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not day one, so I can help you along that journey. Now, there are people who are like, oh, they're 5 years into it, and I don't have anything for them, but maybe I have something else for them. Like, it's a reminder, it's like, hey, make sure you keep your fucking ass in shape. It's like, make sure you're developing skills. Don't just think, oh, I'm an actor. It's like, great, can you sing? Can you dance? Can you fight? Can you drive a car? Can you ride a motorcycle? Can you ride a fucking horse? Can you fly a plane? Can you, you know, what the hell else can you do besides stand in front of the camera and deliver lines? You know, what skills do you have to bring to the table? Because, you know, if we're not unique looking, if we don't have that X factor, and you're not necessarily destined to be an A-lister and you're going to be a working actor, you kind of need to bring some other fucking skills to the table before, you know, someone's going to necessarily consider you. I did a short film last year, and I played a gun runner. And the reason I got cast with that is because people my age don't necessarily have my knowledge and experience. So this guy was, he created his story was about this kid, and he had this like bad night type thing, and he had this little adventure. Anyways, he needed to get a gun. So he ends up meeting a person, and he goes to this bad side of town, and the person was like, man, I got shit for you, go see this guy. And so he goes and sees me. So now I'm sitting here, you know, nearly 50, and the beer belly hanging down. I'm in board shorts, a wife beater, and flip-flops, and I got this old-ass piece of shit car that I'm running guns out of the trunk of or something like that. So I got this role because I have extensive knowledge in firearms. Am I SEAL Team 6? Oh, fuck no. I'm not even anywhere close to, you know, those guys. You know, can I hit the broadside of a barn? Yeah, fuck I can. But because I had knowledge on different types of weapons, I was able to help this guy make his film and be more of a little bit of an armor. Even though we're just using airsoft, I could be more of an armor, and I could teach people. It's like, hey, this prop that you're using is similar to this real firearm over here, and it reacts this way, it loads this way, it moves this way. So I can teach them, so this way they don't look like a fucking shitbag on camera, and it makes the kids' film look a little bit better. It was just a short thing, but you know, that's something that I bring to the table. That, you know, fighting, it's like, even though I'm older, it's like I can still have decent fight scenes. You know, So, anyways, are you working on other stuff besides just your acting? You know, so maybe an actor who already is seasoned needs that. Maybe there's physical fitness. Maybe they kind of fell off. Maybe they need motivation. Like, well, fuck, this 50-year-old guy over here who, you know, I've already been in a movie and, you know, I'm going through a slump, and this guy's just starting off, and, you know, he's passionate about it, and it kind of inspires you and gives me a little spark to get back into it. So, anyways, that's about enough of that. Until tomorrow.